Looking really good, Shirley fans. Really good. This is the king of the K2, Chris Bomber Bauer, here to introduce your host of the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast, D. Hoops Graves and Jason, I Want My $2 Colvin. Let's blow the hatch and listen to them put their tentacles, all over two classic cult movies, Better Off Dead and One Crazy Summer.
All right, listen up, everybody. Your pop culture knowledge will be gauged along with a rating of 1 to 10 on your style, which will be judged solely by me and my vast expertise of 80s and 90s pop culture. Now then, who would like to hold my clipboard? You make a fine little helper. What's your name?
Jeff Johnson, a Film by Podcast.
Shut up, geek. What's your name?
James C. Graves.
Buenos dias.
Welcome back to the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast, everybody. We are here to talk about two epic movies from 1985 and 1986, turning 39 and 40 this year, crazy as it may be.
Yes.
Better Off Dead and One Crazy Summer.
Go that way, really fast. If something gets in your way, turn.
I can't wait to talk to you about this because these are very important movies for my growing up experience. Where did you first see these? How did you become aware of them?
I can tell you that I can remember seeing the preview for Better Off Dead and thinking, oh my gosh, I have to watch this movie just because of the damn shame somebody throwing away a perfectly good white boy like that.
It's a great line, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, what a perfect line to put in the trailer. And yeah, so I was definitely, I'm sure I saw it in the theater. I know that I saw One Crazy Summer because I had seen Better Off Dead. And then I watched them over and over again on HBO as well.
100%. I saw them on HBO all the time.
Yeah.
I recorded, this is back in the days when you'd put in a blank VCR tape and record it and just watch it over and over again.
Yeah.
My friend group at my youth group at church loved quoting Better Off Dead.
Yeah, so the weird thing is that both of these movies were not well received when they came out. And I mean, I watched the Siskel and Ebert and they were just, it was a bash fest.
They were killing it.
It was awful, but you know what? I remember they did that same thing for Spies Like Us. And I was like, oh, I guess it's not a good movie. And then I went and saw the movie. I'm like, oh, these guys are idiots. They have no idea what is a good movie.
Maybe the raw ingredients are there in this movie for a funny black comedy about suburbia, but Better Off Dead never, ever finds the right note. And this is one of those movies where you sit there saying, not only do I know what's going to happen, but it's going to be so boring that I won't even be amused by the fact that I knew it was going to happen.
I have almost nothing to say about the film other than I've seen it. I know I saw it. I've tried to not remember as much as possible. You mentioned the garage scene. I just want to repeat to people, this is the pattern of the film.
Yeah.
You see the window broken once, you see it broken twice, you see it broken 3 times. That's the whole pattern of the movie. What did this director think was funny? That we would think it would be funny that when we didn't think that it was going to break, that it did break?
Well, for example,
doesn't that director realize that we all know it's going to break again? And doesn't that director realize that that's stupid and that he makes himself look
for example,
stupid?
the whole idea of the newspaper carrier, just to take one little element in the film, this kid who rides by every day breaking the window is even in the last shot of the movie as if he is some kind of Fellini-esque alter ego.
Don't use the word Fellini anywhere near this film.
I'm sorry. I really must apologize to Fellini and to Eugene for doing that. This is a real bad movie, and I think you put your finger right on it when you said you could barely remember it. If I had totally forgotten it, I'd be a happy man.
Very good.
We're going to talk about, because Savage Steve Holland responded to the Siskel and Ebert discussion.
Oh, really?
In One Crazy Summer.
Oh, yeah. You'll have to tell me about that.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll tell you about that. Now, before we do, I got to ask you a question.
Yeah.
These two movies are really part of a trilogy.
You told me that just a bit ago because I was looking and I saw that there was a third movie that came out after this. It was 89,
89, yeah.
And it was How I Got Into College. And I was like, oh, it's got Laura Flynn Boyle in it from Wayne's World and from, she was in one of those, she was a lawyer in maybe one of the CSIs, I think.
Okay.
And then, no,
she was
Law and Order. That's what it was, yeah.
She was Jack Nicholson's hot side mama for a
Well,
while.
how many girls could say that though, right?
There you go.
But it also had Anthony Edwards in it.
Top Gun.
Yeah.
Goose.
But I never saw it. Is it good?
It's good.
Another
It's not-
underrated classic?
It is very underrated. As you know, I'm a big proponent of 1989.
Yeah.
It is good. It's not Better Off Dead good, but it's good. It's funny. It got buried between Roadhouse and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and then Here Comes Dead Poet Society and Riggs and Murtaugh and James Bond, and it just got...
Yeah.
That summer of 89 was so big, it just had no chance.
Okay.
So, but it is definitely worth a watch, and it's very funny. I like it a lot.
So was this one that was in the HBO rotation as well, or?
VHS.
Okay.
VHS.
I'm going to say, I can actually remember that when I saw the picture, I was like, oh, I kind of remember this from the video store, whatever it might have been.
Yeah, it's
Blockbuster or
funny. It's
whatever.
definitely worth a watch.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. How I Got Into College also has Diane Franklin,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Taylor Negron, which we're going to talk about here in a minute,
Yeah.
and Curtis Armstrong is in it as well.
Yeah.
Now, no John Cusack, but
Right. Well, obviously, we'll talk about why on that one
that's
in a
right.
minute, right?
That's right.
So if you don't know, not only do both of these movies have John Cusack in them, but they were both written and directed by a guy named Savage Steve Holland. Now, his parents did not give him the name Savage. That was, in fact, a nickname.
Right.
And do you want to know the story? You know the story on this?
Please tell me.
Okay, so he was an artistic little kid, not a WrestleMania kid, like you might expect with that name, but he's playing soccer as a little kid, and some kid on the other team falls over and he accidentally kicks him in the face. Now this kid had a loose tooth, which it kicked it out. And of course, with, even when it's a loose tooth, there's still blood. And so this kid has lost a tooth, is bleeding, and little Stevie Holland just starts crying because he thinks he's murdered this little child. And so Savage was a joke. It was like calling a big guy tiny because he was anything but savage.
Right.
He was just this, tender-hearted little kid who couldn't stop crying because he had hurt some other little kid. So the
sweet.
name Savage stuck.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. What can we talk? I mean, before we dive into the drama involving Better Off Dead, why don't you tell us a little bit about his history and how this movie came to be made?
So it's a great story. I mean, he's very much like the Curtis Armstrong character in One Crazy Summer, like the Ack character. He's softer guy who has this kind of heavy, tough dad. But when he was a kid, he fell in love with the idea of making movies when he saw Planet of the Apes. He loved Woody Allen and how Woody Allen would put animation and other kind of weird comedy things in his movies. And so they had, like the old camcorders like you had, and he would make movies with his little sister as the star of the movie. And would you like to guess the little sister's nickname?
Squid.
That is correct.
Yes.
The little sister in One Crazy Summer is named after Savage Steve Holland's actual little sister.
While we're here, that little girl says 2 words in One Crazy Summer. Actually, technically, she says 1 word twice. Right? She says, Bosco! Which is, of course, the name of the dog.
Yes,
the
right.
The ugliest dog in the world, right?
Yeah, there's sure some ugly kids in this neighborhood. That's a great scene. But so he's making movies with her, but he's having her do her own stunts, and she's getting hurt, and she's like, I'm done with this. I'm not doing this anymore. And so he realizes that he's got to draw. So he does stop animation with his camcorder, and he's animating pictures just like, both of these movies, your main character is an artist who's doing cartoons, right?
Very autobiographical, these 2 movies.
Right. And so he's doing that, and he wants to be a film director, of course, and so he applies to Cal Arts to get into their film directing school. And as you might expect, his family was like, is this really a good idea? Are you going to be able to make any money doing this?
Right.
You're just a guy who draws dumb pictures. And his dad says, listen, if you get in, I will support you. If you don't get in, you have to go to military school. So once again, just like Ack in One Crazy Summer, right? Well, he gets in. He's not like the best student in his class. He's not a George Lucas or a Steven Spielberg from his class.
Right.
But he makes this kind of dumb little black and white movie based upon a birthday party he had when he was 11 years old. And he literally calls it my 11-year-old birthday party, right?
I looked for this on YouTube. I could not find it.
I can't find it either. But he makes that movie, and then he gets out of film school, and the only job he can get is with this brand new show that's even just like a sequence on another new show called Entertainment Tonight.
Wait a minute. This is the E.T. Entertainment Tonight?
When it very first started, yes. And they would have little animated bits that they did, and Savage Steve Holland was the guy who would animate those things. As it turns out, the producers of a new game show see some of the animation that he has done with this Entertainment Tonight show.
Right.
Do you know the game show?
I do.
Can you tell the crowd what the game show is?
That is called Press Your Luck.
And if you don't know it from the name, you'll know it from no whammies, no whammies, no whammies, stop!
All right, players, this is what you've all been waiting for. The big board, over $80,000 in cash up there waiting for you to take it away. One prize worth more than $5,000. However, the bad news is there's some whammies. Both Tammy and Whammy are up there looking to take away your money.
Big bucks, no whammies, stop!
Stop it, oh, whammy.
He drew the whammies on that show.
Every single one of them. And if you don't remember from the show, if it's been too long, when they hit a whammy, there would be a different little scene of that whammy crawling across the screen, laughing and doing something.
Mowing the yard.
Any number of things. And here's the other thing. He had to do it in 12 frames. Like he had 12 frames to create that little story. And that's what he did with whammy. And it paid him pretty good money, which will come up here in a minute, right?
Right.
And so with this dumb little black and white movie that he's got, he somehow gets it as an opening for like the premiere of Eating Raoul. Okay. So you remember the movie Eating Raoul?
Sort of.
Well, they have the premiere, and his show is like the opening little short, right? Some sad clown and the 11-year-old birthday party thing, right?
Right.
And
he meant for it to be sad, right?
Yeah, he meant for it to be sad, but it ended up being really funny. Kind of like, killing yourself should be sad, but he made it funny.
That's right.
And so he has this dumb show that he does, right? And he gets home back in the days when people had answering machines. He gets home and he has 360 messages from people who have loved the show, right?
That's insane.
Later that evening, same night that he's like on cloud nine because everybody has loved his show and he's gotten all these voicemails about how much everybody loves his show, his girlfriend breaks up with him.
Right.
That same night. And so he goes back and he's like, I thought this was love. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't think I can go on living without her. And he literally starts contemplating suicide. He thinks about hanging himself in the garage. And he's like, I should at least call Henry Winkler.
Henry Winkler?
Henry
the
Winkler,
Fonz?
The Fonz is one of the voicemails, one of the guys who's seen this premiere. He's one of the voicemails on his answering machine. And so he calls him up. And he's like, listen, I loved it. I've got a spare office at my office. You can use the Xerox machine. You just come in and you just write whatever you want to write. And so he just kind of shows up. He's still kind of bummed out about his girlfriend breaking up with him. And Henry Winkler is like, so what are you going to write about? He's like, I don't know. He goes, well, you can do the clown thing with the birthday thing. And he's like, that was kind of the whole story. He's like, well, what's going on in your life? And he's like, well, I'm kind of suicidal because my girlfriend broke up with me. And Henry Winkler's like, great, write about that.
Right.
Well, and so that is how we got the script for Better Off Dead.
It's crazy. So Henry Winkler, when he says, hey, come to my office, that's on Paramount campus.
Yeah.
That gets him through the gate.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he's much more than the Fonz. Like, he is a producer.
He's a producer.
And one of the shows that he produced stars a young actor named John Cusack.
That's called The Sure Thing.
Sure Thing.
Now, I love The Sure Thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Okay. It's a Rob Reiner movie. It's got Daphne Zuniga from Spaceballs.
Yeah.
It's got Nicolette Sheridan. She's the Sure Thing.
Right.
Anthony Edwards is in that as well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he is. I know. I've seen the
best
preview.
friend.
Yeah, he's the guy he's talking to on the phone saying, you need to come out here.
He's the guy who's saying,
yeah, that's right.
She's the Sure Thing.
Yes.
And then you've got John Cusack, who's the leading man in that movie.
First leading performance, yes. So he's got this script. he's got this little black and white movie that he's done, but they can't get this script sold to anybody. They're showing it to all kinds of producers and directors and stuff like that. And so he's thinking, well, maybe if I just like do a short film that's kind of a piece of this Better Off Dead idea, maybe I can do something with that. And so he knows Henry Winkler,
The frickin' Fonz,
he's helping him out here.
Right.
And Henry's like, yeah, I'll play a part in this little short film of yours. And so he's like some evil ice cream salesman or something in this.
Okay.
And then in the process of trying to get this film made, he's met several film directors, including Amy Heckerling.
Amy Heckerling, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Just got done directing it. She loves his stuff. And she's like, anything I can do to help? And he's like, hey, Amy, I'm going to make a short film. Will you be in the short film? So he has her act. Okay. So he has her act. And so what he does is he makes this short film, this first date short film that's kind of a shorter version of the Better Off Dead, right?
Right.
And Amy Heckerling is the star. Now, here's the beautiful part about this. She is dating a big-time movie producer. And so whenever it's like, hey, my girlfriend's not directing, but starring in this short film, he calls all of his producer buddies up and they all watch it together. And then all of a sudden the offers start to come in. Guys from the Breakfast Club, I think, end up picking it up, but they don't end up shooting it. It's like up and down as scripts tend to go. But ultimately this guy named Michael Jaffe, who's produced a ton of stuff, he calls Savage Steve Holland and says, hey, I want you to doctor a script for me. You know, I'm trying to make one of these high school movies that everybody's so excited about. And so Savage Steve Holland meets with him and he's like, hey, you know, if you're talking to me because you liked my script, why don't you just make my script? And he's like, I don't know. I just can't see it. And Savage Steve Holland, being the artist, he's like, oh, well, it's okay because I've already got it storyboarded out. And he's got the whole storyboard. And that's how he ultimately finds the producer for Better Off Dead.
That's fantastic. So I just want to go back over this because he really is at the bottom floor on so many events, like crisscrossing 80s pop culture. So you've got Entertainment Tonight, number one. You've got Pressure Luck, which was an iconic 80s game show.
Yeah. The Fonz.
You've got the freaking Fonz in the early 80s, who was a superstar at the time. Amy Heckerling, who is about to make maybe the most influential teen movie of all time, which probably gave us that run of teen movies that we got in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then Office on Paramount, and things are starting to happen.
Things are going to start happening to me today.
I mean, it's incredible just being there at that correct time, you know?
Yeah. And so, of course, Henry Winkler, having produced The Sure Thing, says, hey, I got the perfect kid to star in your movies.
So I know the studio was nervous with John Cusack because the only thing he had been in that they had seen up to that point was 16 Candles.
Right, where he's a nerd. He's like the brothers, you know, the twins that are just...
He's Farmer Ted's right-hand man who's a geek.
A sidekick. He's a sidekick.
Right.
Right?
And you and I were laughing about the quote when Farmer Ted knocks over that giant pile of beer cans.
Yeah.
He turns around and he's like, come on, Weiss, I can't bring you anywhere. This is ridiculous.
Weiss.
Right? And then John Cusack turns to his brother and says,
real smooth, Cliff.
Very nice. We have 5 minutes and I'm at a loss.
Real smooth, Cliff.
And he leaves, and that poor Cliff brother is just standing there. Now he was in Better Off Dead.
I know. You told me this the other day. Who is he?
So in the scene where you've got the math class where he's talking and it's just this no math that any human being would understand, and everybody's just entranced and they're all excited and laughing and volunteering and stuff. He's like, all right, now if you'll get out your assignments that I gave to you, answers to this paltry little problem that I gave you. You remember there's a kid who like gets out this full-size suitcase, opens it up, and it has a dot matrix printer in it. That's Brother Cliff from 16 Candles.
16 Candles.
Yes.
Side note.
Yes.
I got into a college major where I shouldn't have been for a while.
Yeah.
Which required me to take math for majors. Right? And I looked around in my calculus for majors class and realized it was like that class. Everybody was on top of it. Not this guy.
Yeah, I can identify with that. I had honors calculus my first semester in college, having never had any calculus at all, not pre-calculus or anything.
My gosh.
And I was like, okay, because I could, I'll figure it out. That's what I did in high school. I'll figure it out.
Right.
It's fine. And then the professor, first day of class, he's like, now I know a lot of professors will give you partial credit for your work, even if you don't have the answer right. I don't do that. If you get the answer wrong, the whole thing is wrong. It doesn't matter how good your work is, because if you get it wrong when you work for NASA, the shuttle flies into the sun. Nobody's going to give you credit for most of your work being right if it flies into the sun. I'm like, I'm not going to work for NASA.
And then he asked to date your girlfriend.
Yeah. So this is a little awkward.
That's a funny running joke throughout Better Off Dead.
It's great.
Lane, this is a bit awkward. I've heard a few things, and, well, I was wondering if you would mind if I took out Beth?
Which, by the way, in real life, Savage Steve Holland's girlfriend broke up with him.
Yeah.
He became suicidal.
Yep.
I heard him mention that he went into his garage, strung up a noose, and when he tried to do the act, the wire broke. He landed on the trash can, busted the trash can. The pipe started leaking water on top of his head, and his mom came out and yelled at him.
Was she the one that knocked him over while she was vacuuming?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, serious thing, funny event.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. Should we, we can't really switch over to One Crazy Summer.
This is like a sequential thing. This is a nice deal when we have the same director, writer, same star. This is one thing happens, then the next thing happens. And so the only jump that we're going to make from Better Off Dead to One Crazy Summer is they were in the middle of shooting One Crazy Summer when they watched Better Off Dead for the first time. And this is what we were alluding to before. And John Cusack gets up in the middle of it and walks out.
To me, this is the biggest story of the entire two-part podcast. The fact that John Cusack hated Better Off Dead so much that he didn't speak to his director the entire time he makes One Crazy Summer.
Right. Like he confronted him after seeing Better Off Dead and says, "You've ruined my career. I can't believe you did this." Which, to me, I don't know. Like, how are you filming the scenes in Better Off Dead and you don't know what's going on?
Well, not only that, they're watching dailies together.
Right. It just doesn't make any sense.
Savage Steve Holland said they would go back to their room together, watch dailies together, and laugh their asses off.
So I heard John Cusack talk about this, and, he has said that in all movies that he watches, he's embarrassed by the movie, but then... that's just the way that it is. It's just you find the things that are wrong with it, and you tend to focus on those things. And he said, not about these movies, because I doubt that he's probably watched them again, but he says, I've seen myself in movies and thought, oh my gosh, I've done so terrible in this. This is such an awful movie. And then years later, I'll see it again. And I'll be like, oh, actually, that was kind of a good decision. So it's just, it's human nature, especially, you just got to think about it. You were a young kid. He's early 20s.
He's like 20.
Yeah. On the cusp of maybe being a star, and you do this kind of goofy movie, it could scare you. It could, if I was 20, I could see myself being scared there.
I get his fear. I do, because it's a one-of-a-kind movie.
Yeah.
It's goofy, it's absurd, it's oddball, but it's so sweet.
Right.
And so cute.
Yeah.
It's basically irresistible.
Yeah.
But I could see where he would be uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
But to point the finger at him and say, you tricked me. You deceived me.
Yeah.
And I hate you, and don't freaking talk to me again.
Right. It's 20.
Yeah, but that was also 40 years ago.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that. And I think that he's eased up on his reaction to it, but that doesn't mean that he's going to go make friends with Savage Steve Holland again.
That bothers me.
I understand.
I've got something for you. Okay. And
wait, real quick before we go there.
Okay.
So he balls out Savage Steve Holland, and then he follows this movie with Hot Pursuit.
Right.
5.7 on IMDb.
It's not good. I've seen it.
And this movie that I've never heard of with him and Tim Robbins called Tapeheads.
I've not seen that. I don't
also
know.
5.7. Like, I mean, he wasn't picking good ones anyway.
Let me throw John Cusack a bone before I fix and tear him down.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he does two movies I love. Better Off Dead, I love. I think it's 80s iconic. It's hilarious. It's fun. It's sweet. It's genuine. It's all these things. One Crazy Summer is also those things. He does those two crap movies. He then does Say Anything from 89.
Yeah. Which you covered recently, right?
I just did that with Docking Bay 77. I did it with Amber Lewis and Dayton Johnson. We had a great time discussing one of the most romantic movies of 1989. In fact, I'd love to cover it sometime, maybe against When Harry Met Sally, two of the best romantic comedies of 89.
Nice.
He is so awesome in that movie, and he's not at all nerdy goofball. It's sweet, genuine. It's just a great movie. Anyway.
And then he does 8 Men Out after that, right?
8 Men Out was in 88, which is previous to that.
Oh, okay. So he did 8 Men Out, and then he did Say Anything.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
But, I mean, 4 years later, he's still playing a high school kid, which, you know. Of course, Michael J. Fox was 25 in Back to the Future. Whatever.
Right.
So before I give him all this crap, I'm just going to say, is John Cusack the greatest actor of all time? Because he makes us believe that he is a lovable loser in all of these movies when maybe he's not so lovable, and he's definitely not a loser.
He's definitely not a loser. I will tell you, I mean, I've heard him interview in podcasts as an adult. I mean, this was 4 years ago, and he is a man with humility who has said, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. It's crazy that I am this lucky. He's also very intelligent.
He is.
I don't necessarily agree with the things that he says all the time, but you can't say that he's not well thought out and well educated, and somebody who speaks with humility and respect. And so I tend to think, hey, he was a dumb kid when he was 20. So was I. Maybe he grew up a little bit.
All right. So on that note, I want to tell you something funny.
Yeah.
Okay. So in Say Anything, he's pursuing the unattainable girl. Right.
Yeah.
In Better Off Dead, he gets dumped by his girlfriend and stumbles upon this French exchange students, and it's great fun.
Right.
In One Crazy Summer, he stumbles into a romance that he didn't expect to happen. So I'm partially kidding, of course.
Right.
Let me give you a list of women that he has dated in real life.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this lovable loser thing is not who he is.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
He has dated, keep up now, Uma Thurman.
Okay.
Lily Taylor. Say Anything.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Claire Forlani.
Okay.
Mallrats.
Yes.
Okay. Allison Eastwood. Clint Eastwood's daughter, who's a babe.
Okay.
Meg Ryan.
Wow.
Nev Campbell.
Okay.
Minnie Driver.
All right.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Janice Dickinson, the first supermodel. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Brooke Burns.
Okay.
Major babe.
All right.
Gina Gershon.
Oh, hello.
Jamie Gertz.
Wow.
Rebecca Romaine.
Wow.
Pamela Anderson.
Gee,
Melissa Gilbert.
What? Oh my gosh.
Sheryl Crow.
Okay.
Susanna Melvoin.
Oh wow. Okay.
You remember her?
Yeah. The sister of the other Melvoin from Prince's band, Revolution.
Wendy. That's right.
Yes, Wendy Melvoin. Thank you.
Shoshana Gross. Does that mean anything to you?
I think I know who that is too. Yeah.
She was Jerry Seinfeld's high school girl,
right.
like young girl.
Yeah. Smoking hot.
Smoke
yes.
show.
Gee, my knee.
Britney Spears.
Ooh. Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Probably in the heyday and not right now.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Those are famous women that he has dated.
That gum.
So
he is the luckiest guy in the world.
I mean, he's doing well for himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay? Yeah. Okay, so obviously we know that John Cusack is the star of both of these movies, but you have some other overlap in it. Curtis Armstrong is one of the overlaps, and then Taylor Negron. Taylor Negron is in both of them.
Laura Waterbury's in both of them.
Okay.
Rich Little is in both of them.
He was in Better Off Dead. Where was he in Better Off Dead?
Allow me to educate you on the
Yes.
cast of Better Off Dead.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So I just want to talk about a few of these, okay, real quick. So
Okay.
John Cusack is Lane Meyer.
Well, honk my hooter.
He almost got the part of John Bender in Breakfast Club.
Okay.
How different is his career if in 85 he goes John Bender rather than Lane Meyer?
Very different.
I think so too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. David Ogden Stiers is his dad. MASH.
MASH. That's it. I immediately go to MASH.
All right, quick trivia question.
Yes.
What world famous animated character did David Ogden Stiers voice?
He was the clock in Beauty and the Beast.
That's right.
Disney's Beauty and the Beast.
That's right.
Love it. Love it.
Splendid to see you out and about, mademoiselle. I am Cogsworth, head of the household. This is Lumiere. Enchanté, chérie.
500 points for D.
Thank you.
Good job. All right, and then you have Diane Franklin, who is Monique Junot.
Yeah.
Hell yes, something is wrong. This, how you say, dark head, is an unleashed sex fiend. Ricky, he will not leave me alone. He thinks because I stay here, I am his love goddess, his prostrate. No, prostitute.
We know that she is one of the princesses in the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yes. She was in an earlier teen comedy called The Last American Virgin.
Okay.
Did you ever see that?
No, haven't seen it.
Pretty influential movie in the early 80s. Heartbreaking scene at the end.
Okay.
Kind of a crusher at the end.
Okay.
And she's talked about this many times. But, I mean, if you watch that movie at the end, you're like, no.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
So.
Don't give it away. Don't spoil it for me.
Okay. Her French accent, she had done just prior to in a movie called Second Time Lucky.
Okay. Oh, that was the one you sent me the picture of. She looked good.
Meow.
Yeah.
Okay. Kim Darby plays Jenny Meyer. That's his mother.
In honor of our special guest, I've created dinner mondiaux. First, we have French fries and French dressing and French bread. And to drink, ta-da, Peru.
Do you know something about this?
Yeah, she was the little girl in True Grit.
She was the little girl in True Grit.
Yeah.
That, to me, I was bowled over by that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The original True Grit with
John
Wayne.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Now, Curtis Armstrong plays Charles DeMar.
Don't listen to Stalin, kid. He's a punk. Now you show him, Rock. You show him how a skier really skis.
Right.
His best buddy.
Right.
Who got the job because Savage Steve Holland liked him in Risky Business.
Yeah, he had been in Risky Business in 83.
Yep.
And Nerds was 84.
84. He played
Yeah.
Booger in Revenge of the Nerds.
Right. Yeah. We had, which is funny because we had just when I talked about One Crazy Summer with Jeff Johnson from the A Film by podcast, we had just gotten finished with Nerds versus Animal House.
Yeah,
and
that's
you have
right.
some overlap with Animal House as well.
Yeah.
But
No doubt.
yeah. So guys, that was a Patreon episode for A Film By, but it's free. So I would encourage everybody, go over to A Film By. You just put your email in and you get that free episode with some other free episodes that they have. They do like a best of 86. I think they're trying to get 86 of the movies.
They just dropped their 86th
Nice.
episode.
So definitely go check that out.
Okay. The girl who plays Beth in Better Off Dead.
Yeah.
That's Amanda Wyss.
Yep.
Her claim to fame is she is the first person killed by Freddy Krueger in the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
I knew I had I recognized her face from something. Yes.
That's back when those movies were actually scary.
Yeah.
She's climbing along on the ceiling. He's killing her, and they're freaking out. They're watching her on the ceiling. Her like cuts start happening on her body, and first time I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That Beth, and I can't remember what her character's name is, but she's the first person killed by Freddy Krueger.
Wow.
Okay, now then, Aaron Dozier plays Roy Stalin.
Buenos dias. Looking really good today, buddy. Looking real good.
He is the ski guy that steals Beth away from Lane.
He's the best douchey bully. Like he's Johnny from a Karate Kid level.
He's
good
awesome.
At being a boyfriend.
How did this guy not get more John Lawrence parts?
Well, I don't know, because you told me like he came into the audition as that guy, right?
Yeah.
Like saw Savage Steve Holland in his Hawaiian shirt.
He said, "Who's the chubby kid?" and like in pure bully fashion,
who's chubby Magnum PI over here?
Right, exactly, right. So listen to what he was up against.
Yeah,
they were looking at Charlie Sheen for that part.
Yeah,
they were looking at Chad McQueen, who
Okay.
we talked about in The Karate Kid.
Yeah.
he played Dutch in The Karate Kid.
Yeah, Steve McQueen's son.
Yep.
He just passed away, I think,
did.
this past year. Yeah.
He did. What's the matter? Mommy not here to dress you? That guy was awesome in The Karate Kid.
Yeah.
And he could have been super scary. But listen to this.
Yeah.
So here's what Aaron Dozier, not Roy Stalin, the actor who played Roy Stalin,
Yes.
said they had hired somebody that he wouldn't name,
Okay.
which tells me it's somebody famous,
Okay.
which is probably one of those two guys. He couldn't make pig noises.
I thought you were going to say he couldn't ski. He couldn't make pig noises?
He couldn't make pig noises. And as you know, in that part in the humiliating scene where
Buenos dias.
Lane is thrown out of the kitchen, he's like, woo, looking really good today, right? He couldn't make pig noises, and so they fired him because this dude could do it.
Wow.
I thought that was hilarious, man.
So I think the best part about this is what happens to him later in life. No, he doesn't get any more starring roles. What happens to him? Tell me.
He becomes a ski instructor for Boston College, their ski team. He's the coach.
That is fantastic.
Ask me if he could ski before he did Better Off Dead.
Could he ski?
No, he could not. He couldn't ski.
What?
He and Cusack went up a few days early just to get acquainted with skis.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy.
Better Off Dead leads to a coaching position in a Division I program.
Wow.
How about that?
That is crazy.
I thought that was fantastic.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay. Now, Damian Slade plays Johnny Gasparini.
Is he? He's the kid. He's the newspaper kid.
$2 cash.
I don't have a dime.
Didn't ask for a dime. So that kid got the job because he played that as a serial killer.
And I mean, it's that part of the movie is he's like the stalking monster from a horror movie. He really is.
He's the unstoppable killing. He's like the Terminator.
He really is. It's fantastic. And maybe the most memorable line from the movie.
If you see John Cusack on the street, you might just say, "I want my $2." That is the line.
He might punch you in the face too, because I'm sure he hears it a million
That's
times
right.
a day. Yeah.
So Damian Slade was 12 years old. Now get this. Here's the kicker.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this or not. His lines were looped.
Okay.
Did you hear this story?
No.
His lines were looped. This is according to Diane Franklin.
Okay.
By actor Yano Anaya.
Okay.
Does that ring a bell to you?
Was he in another movie that I know?
Yes.
Was it Never Ending Story?
No.
Okay, then tell me.
He played Michael Anthony in the Hot for Teacher video, number 1.
Oh, as the kid?
As the kid.
Okay.
A young Michael Anthony, Hot for Teacher.
Yeah.
He also plays Grover Dill in A Christmas Story. The toady.
Oh, okay. Wow, I didn't know it was the same kid as the Hot for Teacher video.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
And he's one of the little newspaper boy gang.
Right.
members.
Yeah. And what a great scene that is. Like they have the dramatic lighting coming up from
Oh,
over
it's
the
so
hill.
great, man.
Oh my gosh.
It's
Keys,
so absurd.
Keys.
It's so absurd, but it's so funny. I just don't know how they pull it off, right?
Yeah, right.
Scooter Stevens, the award for best name goes to Scooter Stevens,
Right.
who plays Badger, his kid brother in the movie.
Oh, right. Not a single line in the whole thing.
Doesn't say one single word and manages to pick up trashy women everywhere.
Yep. I want that book. Sorry. Just kidding.
He builds a laser, a space shuttle, and picks up trashy women the entire movie.
That's what every 12-year-old boy wanted to do at that point, I think.
All right. I'm hoping to blow your socks off here a little bit.
Okay.
Yuji Akamoto
Yes.
plays Yi Suk Ri.
Howard Cosell. Yes.
Language lessons. Inspired words. Now, do you recognize that actor?
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, shoot. That's right. He's in
Karate Kid too. He's the main bad guy.
He's the main bad guy.
Yeah, he's the main bad
Chosen.
guy that Daniel has. And then he comes back again in Cobra Kai, like season 2 or 3, I think. And he's a great part. He's a great part in that series too.
He goes from this. He's a goofball, funny Howard Cosell impersonating Chinese guy to Danielson's nemesis.
Yeah. And he kills it because he's a tall, good-looking guy.
He's tough.
And
he doesn't fall for no crane kick, by the way.
Right, he doesn't. He falls for the...
That's right. That's right.
But, and here's another interesting crossover for the movies, right? That's not his voice doing the Howard Cosell voice. He is lip-syncing.
To who?
To Rich Little, who was, if you grew up in the 80s, you know who Rich Little was because he was the guy who did all the impressions. He was constantly on HBO doing stand-up, doing his
Christmas
Willie
specials
Nelson
and stuff,
and and Howard Cosell and John Wayne and all of those. But he is also the DJ in One Crazy Summer, where they're doing the big radio giveaway of $1 million.
Weren't you just asking me a minute ago he was in both movies?
He is in Better Off Dead. His voice is in Better Off Dead as Howard Cosell, and then he's the radio guy in One Crazy Summer.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me. Thus is truly a sublime metamorphosis of the Lane Mile. I think the crowds were expecting to see here at Brody Mountain today. Perhaps you can tell us what brought on such an enchanting, exhilarating feat.
Language lessons.
Language lessons. Inspired words from a man who knows how to ski.
Now then, Laura Waterbury plays Mrs. Smith.
Mrs. Smith. Oh, so Ricky's mom.
Well, as we're discovering around our household, you don't need words to speak the international language. You know, love. The language of love.
Yes, Ricky's mom. Gee, Ricky, I'm really sorry your mom blew up. Guess you won't be able to eat any spicy foods for a while. She is awesome in Better Off Dead.
She's really good, yes.
Ricky!
Oh, and by the way, how about a real world foreshadowing of somebody putting all of their testicles all over everybody? Sorry, what is it? With the octopus
tentacles.
No, I think it's testicles. It's actually testicles. So, are we here yet?
We're here.
We're here. We're here now. So,
say it.
Dan Snyder, now infamous Dan Snyder.
Yeah. He was like top dog at Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
He did all those shows with Amanda Bynes.
So I saw, obviously I saw this movie, knew him from that.
Yes.
And then I loved Head of the Class, which was,
right.
He was one of the smart kids in Head of the Class. He was the chubby guy who was friends with the cool guy. They were all geniuses or whatever.
Right.
And then later on in life, I'm like, oh yeah, he's directing movies for Nickelodeon. Cool. That's exciting.
He was a superstar at Nickelodeon.
Right. And so then that Nickelodeon documentary, whatever you want to call it, comes out. I didn't even see it. I haven't seen it.
What?
I just heard about what happened. And then my kids, my daughter is 13. She watches the reruns of those shows, like the Victorious is one of the shows, and iCarly and Sam and Cat. She watches all of those shows, and I see that his name come up as director as one of those shows. I'm like, oh, I recognize that name. Where do I know that from? And I look him up. I'm like, oh, it's the guy from Head of the Class. Oh my gosh, what in the world? He is the guy who was sexually inappropriate with all of these young, mostly female, like asking for massages, and I don't know how bad it got, but definitely not politically correct in today's world at all.
Especially if you've got kids thinking about acting, being in the entertainment world, go watch that documentary. It will open your eyes.
Yeah.
So,
I know that girl from Sam and Cat is not happy about that whole experience. And you said Amanda Bynes. I mean, she went way off the deep end.
Yeah. She that's a whole another podcast.
Right. So Dan Snyder, Ricky in Better Off Dead becomes the director that is the source of all of the turmoil at Nickelodeon.
Okay. Let's separate that for just 1 second.
Okay.
Let's look at, because he is hilarious in Better Off Dead.
He is.
And I enjoyed that performance for a lot of years before I learned about the Nickelodeon stuff.
Yep.
He's...
We could still like OJ and Naked Gun, can't we?
Absolutely we can. Yeah,
right.
Totally. Nordberg. But like he does funny things, like he snorts Jello and he makes, he puts his tentacles all over Monique, and just he's really funny. And of course, he has the ski pole sword fight at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
You shouldn't upset Mother.
Here's the one thing, okay? So they redeem his character a little bit, because after John Cusack wins the sword fight with Ricky, and Ricky is laying on top of his mother,
right?
He gets a hand up by a nerdy girl, right?
Yeah.
They missed a golden opportunity. It should have been the girl that John Cusack was forced to go out on a date with, that was the daughter of his dad's law firm partner, who had the
horrible
antennas
thing
on her
face.
Yes. Who was like, you're going to pay this, you pay this. How about you just give me, will you take a check?
Yeah.
Yes. If it was her, it would have been the perfect button, but it's just random geeky girl that we've never seen before.
You know what? You're exactly right.
That would have been great.
The girl with the horrible antenna on her face.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so funny. Okay, I got one more name for you. Actually, I got a couple names for you. Okay. So Taylor Negron plays the mailman.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
He's in one of the guys. He's also in One Crazy Summer.
Stand-up comedian of the 80s, yeah.
He's now dead. I don't know if you know that.
No, really?
Yeah, he passed away.
Oh, that's too bad.
But he's funny. He's one of the guys who's like, Lane, I know you and I don't really know each other, but...
Am I remembering this right? Was he on the Pee Wee Herman show too? Did he do Pee Wee Herman stuff?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
He's one of the guys who asked Lane if he can ask out Beth.
Right. I know I don't really know you. And what a great scene. I mean, he's just walking down the road, just dropping
bills, yeah.
Opening stuff, opens the book.
Right. Trashy women.
Pick up trashy women.
How about the name Chuck Mitchell as Rocco? Does that mean anything to you?
Chuck Mitchell as Rocco. Is he the big guy who owns the restaurant that he keeps running into his truck?
Fat Pig, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
No, Pat Pig.
Pat Pig.
Right.
Where are you going?
I'm gonna go wash my hands. I got a mold and pat.
You wash your hands on your own time, boy. Now get to work.
Yes, sir.
So he's the one who is like, Meyer, and throws him out, and that's,
Right.
You recognize him?
No.
He plays Porky in Porky's.
Oh, that's right. Oh, my gosh. It's been a dang minute since I've seen Porky's, but
Right?
that's right. Now that you say it, I forgot about that.
Wow. Yes. Okay, and I got one more name for you.
Yeah.
E.G. Daly. Elizabeth Daly.
Okay.
She is the girl who is singing at the dance.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I could have sworn that was Pia Zadora. Okay, so no, E.G. Daly.
E.G. Daly.
She's the one who's singing Better Off Dead.
She's singing Better Off Dead, the theme
school
song.
Dance. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She does the voice for like Tommy Pickles, and Rugrats, and Powderpuff Girls.
That's right.
She's also Dottie in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Dottie.
That's great.
So I think that they missed an opportunity in One Crazy Summer. I mean, Demi Moore's a bigger star.
Uh-huh.
But you can have a real singer.
She wasn't at that point, though. She is now. But at that point, she wasn't. She had just the year before. I mean, a couple years before, she had done Blame It on Rio, right? But she was the girl that nobody was looking at.
Demi Moore, that's right.
And then she did.
She did A Small Affair with John Cryer in '85.
Okay.
She did St. Elmo's Fire in '85.
Yeah, but they're doing One Crazy Summer before St. Elmo's Fire comes out.
That's right.
I mean, and by '86, she's got About Last Night, and St. Elmo's Fire, but what I'm saying is she wasn't much of anybody before that.
That's right. Right before she blows up. Right before she blows up.
Right. Unlike Ricky's mom. Or just like Ricky's
Gee,
mom.
Ricky, I'm really sorry your mom blew it.
Okay, so that does it for the cast of Better Off Dead. Let us come back next time. We'll start with the cast for One Crazy Summer, see the crossovers and the new folks who are awesome.
Right.
And talk about some of the trivia behind that movie, this movie, and maybe a sequel.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We will see you guys next week. Okay, now I got to pee.
Okay.